Hi, everyone. This is the new method by Dr. E. That's me. And today we have a special guest. We have Miss Kc Rossi here. Hi, Kc.
Hi, Dr. E. How are you?
So good. I'm so happy that you are on our show. You are actually our first guest.
I'm excited. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. So let me tell you guys a little bit about Kc Rossi. She's a business and leadership coach who helps mission-driven CEOs and entrepreneurs optimize their performance, productivity, and profits. She's been a full-time entrepreneur since 91 and has built 6 7-figure businesses. She is a certified mindset coach, emotional intelligence practitioner, and trained neurolinguistic programming, which allows her to bring deep insight to her coaching. Kc is the founder of the Soulprint Method, which I think is so exciting, and I can't wait to talk about it. A holistic approach that harnesses mindset and emotional intelligence to build a profitable and soul aligned business without burnout. She is the host of Women Developing Brilliance, The Spirit of Business, a show dedicated to cultivating confidence, increasing visibility, elevating vibration, and leading with purpose. When she is offline, you can find her whipping up plant based eats or hiking the Finger Lakes Trail in upstate New York. And in case that wasn't enough, Casey's an executive contributor of Brains Magazine. Her work has been highlighted in ABC, NBC, CBS, Fox, Thrive Global, Small Biz Daily, International Journal of Professional Holistic Aromatherapists, Female Entrepreneurial Association, and the Smart Girl Tribe. Wow, amazing. So excited that you're here.
Thank you. I'm excited to be here. And I also want to point out that you are a guest on my show. So I think your listeners would love to hear our interview when that goes live.
Absolutely. I absolutely will. And I'm going to tell you, so for my listeners, most of you who are listening may not be entrepreneurs and you might be saying, what does this have to do with me? And what I'm hoping that we get to today, and I'm sure we will, is that I really love that, and Casey's going to elaborate, the fact that her business is about not burning out. And whether you're an entrepreneur or someone who is juggling, a household or whatever you're dealing with, I think that we're going to be able to learn a lot of helpful tips here. And before I kind of hand it over to you so you can tell us what the Soulprint Method is, when I talk to my patients, we go through a few things. We go through, of course, nutrition, we go through exercise, we go through sleep, but there's always a section about stress. And quite honestly, that is not my area of expertise. I will either to an area of like some meditation app, or sometimes I refer out. And so this area of stress is not something that I offer a lot of tips on. So it's wonderful to have you here. I'm going to ask you to tell us about your method, and then we can figure out how to apply it past like the entrepreneur world.
Absolutely. That sounds awesome. And I'm very familiar with burnout. So I will just say that I've been an entrepreneur since, I think I'm on my 32nd year. So the initial part of how I did business was really subscribed to this old paradigm of needing to push, grind, and hustle a very masculine way, very linear, really looking all about the numbers and the analytics and very just metric focused. And I just thought that that's what you needed to do. Like I even dressed in a certain way. Like I always had the button down pinstripe shirt because I thought that was professional. Right. And I just really lived a very black and white life, like my 9 to 5 life, even though I've always had my own business, I created it that way because that was kind of the model that I had in my head of what success looked like. And it didn't take long to get burnout. And I had adrenal fatigue. I ended up gaining like 80 pounds in a year from a tremendous amount of stress. And it took a lot of unwinding through that process to even honor and respect the diagnoses. It was just like, I was wearing that as a badge. Being a perfectionist, I was like, this shows that I'm really working hard. Like this proves it, I even got like the gold star of like putting in tons of effort. And it took quite a while actually for me to realize that it wasn't sustainable. And I was getting visual migraines on a weekly basis to the point where I added a small couch to the back of my office because I didn't want to take time to go home. And I was like, I only have blurred vision for about 20 minutes. So let's just put a teeny little couch in the back and I can get right back to it. And so I just wanted to say that because, we learn from our pain. And I think we teach what we most need to learn and continue to know. And so that's why I have a really mindful eye on burnout and can see the signs in other perfectionists slash recovering perfectionists, and really looking at what it's going to take to put ourselves first and to not look at self-care as being selfish. And so the Soulprint method is really a combination of helping high achievers, predominantly women, really look at their performance, look at their productivity, and increase their profits. So it's really optimizing all the 3 Ps that they want, because that's what their mind is telling them they need a coach for, right? Like, I need a coach to help me with productivity, performance, and profits. But under the surface, and the more you start getting into my method, it's the heart of it is really so many layers. And I look at it like through a holistic wealth lens. So looking at it into 6 different sections of physical, emotional, spiritual, collective, connective, and financial. So the financial piece is only a 1/6 of that puzzle. But as you know, if we don't have our physicality dialed in, we don't have energy. If we don't have our emotional intelligence in our lens, we're not going to be good at making decisions. Our stress tolerance is going to be in the toilet. So each one of those sections to me is what holistic wealth or true success looks like. And the Soulprint method kind of uses mindset, habits, alignment, values, and emotional intelligence to really kind of uncover some of the things that keep us in repetitive negative habits.
I love this. There's so much to unpack in what you said. So, and I want to constantly, even though we're talking for entrepreneurs, I want to constantly always connect it to our listeners, because we're all kind of entrepreneurs. If you're running a household, you're an entrepreneur. If you're juggling your career and your kids and going to school at night, you're an entrepreneur, just of a different sense. You're running the whole show. So a few things that I just want to say. So many of my patients will do exactly what you said. You said, I only had 20-minute migraines, so I got the couch. We accommodate. Anyone who knows my story knows that one of the reasons I got into functional medicine is because of my wife. She was not well, but the first disease that she has was an allergy to the sun, and we accommodated. We just stopped going out during the day. Like, that's okay. Sure. It's fine. Right. We're going to push through it. We're strong women, and whatever God dealt us, we'll kind of go through with it. It wasn't until the second autoimmune that we were like, it's time. And many of my patients will come to me when it's already like, hey, I had all these aches and pains, and I just, stopped working out or stopped doing a thing. I just accommodated. And then they come when they're like on the verge of collapse, many of them. So here's what I want to say to everyone listening. That mantra of whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger is not true. Whatever doesn't kill you is going to kill you slowly.
It's already killing you slowly.
It's already killing you slowly. Yes.
Amen.
100%. And so many of the mantras, I'm so glad you said that are like, rah, 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 early bird gets the worm. No, early bird gives you adrenal fatigue. You need to sleep, right? Burning the candle at both ends. No. 7 to 9 hours of sleep. Very important. So eating on the go. Nope. Tupperware. Like, we still have to focus on these things. So many of the things that have been taught to us as signs of strength is actually slowly killing us. And there's a lot of unlearning and an understanding that if you want to be healthy, you have to really look inwards. And whatever your profession is, whether you're an entrepreneur or something else, if you want your business, if you want your family, if you want your household to thrive, you as the epicenter of that must be thriving.
Absolutely. And I want to point out too, it is important for business owners, but I think even if you just take entrepreneur totally off the table, it comes back to self-leadership. And just like you mentioned, whether you have one person following you on social media or 4 children in your household, you are leading and you are setting an example. And the only way we can do that in alignment and in integrity is if we are walking the talk, and it starts with self-leadership. So I really feel like everything we're going to talk about today can just revolve around that nucleus.
Absolutely. But I am really curious, before we jump back into the Soulprint method, you did say that you built 6 businesses. Can you tell us just a little bit about them? Because I'm so curious.
Yeah, absolutely. So I am actually, I think, on my 11th business, and my best friend and I met in 1990, and I was so young. I think I was 18, and I just turned 50 this year, so that would make sense. and and she is 24 years my senior and has just so much energy and so much life. And I was just like introverted, didn't really know much about the business world and marketing and anything like that. And so we got together and basically crafted 9 different businesses, from exterior house painting to watercolor gem and mineral company for jewelry to confections. Like, we just like popcorned 9 different businesses in a 4-year period. And we never gave anything the time it needed to fructify. So it was like, oh, this didn't work in 4 months. What else can we do? Right. So the running joke was, I just told her, I'm like, if the 10th one doesn't work, like, we are going to go and get conventional jobs. Like, can we agree? Like, can we agree? Like, I can't make stationery for another brand identity one more time.
Oh, I forgot there was stationery back then. That's so true.
Exactly. This is old school, total old school. So as destiny had it, our 10th business was called Angelic Gourmet, and we basically manufactured upscale gift and gourmet, which really our main product was chocolate covered pretzels. And we did that for 17 years. So we just continually grew. We were one of the largest employers in our town of upstate New York and Naples. And it was awesome. We got to travel the world. We got to make people happy through chocolate. And I think, Dr. E, you're going to really appreciate this, because I was starting to feel out of alignment. And that's so important to me, is to be in integrity, be in alignment. And I've always loved plants. I've loved plant medicine. I started studying aromatherapy in 94 and took that right to the clinical level, because I was so amazed at the power of plants and essential oils. And so the deeper I got into my own path of healing burnout, vegetarianism, and all those type of different functional medicine, I was so passionate about it. I started feeling out of alignment selling sugar and things that had artificial coloring. And so, yeah, I knew you would like this part. So we decided that we were going to make like a high powered superfood nutraceutical line in the confections world. And this was before it got trendy, because you have to remember it was so many years ago. And so we did a line called Popcorn with a Purpose, and we put maca in it and goji berries and all these really cool things. And it didn't go anywhere. It flopped. It totally flopped. People are like, where's the caramel toffee crunch? Where's the mega mudslide? Like, what's
going on?
What are you doing? We don't like it. Go back to what you did. So it was a real learning lesson. And so, yeah, we ended up selling that company in 2011. And I went deeper into a parallel company that I was doing solo in aromatherapy and doing different boutique aromatherapy blends for people. But that's how I kind of transitioned out of that. And then bringing it up to present day is, after I was working in the aromatherapy field, I started seeing so many new practitioners, whether they were nutritionists or yoga therapists or aromatherapists, and they would go through their schooling. They were typically women over 40 that wanted to pivot from some type of soul sucking job into something that they really wanted to better themselves and better humanity. And they graduated, they had their shiny certificate, and they were like, WTF, like, what am I going to do now? I have no idea what a funnel is. I have no idea how to sell myself. What do you mean by visibility? Like, it's a whole new alphabet. Right. And so I was like, oh my gosh, I have 2 decades of experience of building something from nothing. And these are my people. And that's how I kind of transitioned into business consulting and coaching. So that's kind of a long story, but to your question, that there's a lot of businesses under there, under the layers.
I love that. And so I want to extrapolate a few lessons for our listeners here. First of all, keep trying, right? You're like a number 10. You know, I thought I had a lot because I have 4 businesses. Turns out I'm a dwarf. But in the business, but the difference is that you just have to do stationery. I have to create a website every time I have an idea. My web guy loves me. But you know, there was a lot of failure in your story. which is really important. I have some serious failures in my story as well. And some of them have t-shirts that we still wear in the house. Like Sunshine Infusions is a company that flopped and we still wear it. And we're like, yeah, like my shame, we wear it across our chest. Right. So there's a lot of trial, falling and retrying again. And for those of you listening, it's okay. It's okay to try and fail because sometimes it takes 10 businesses. And it's also okay to really shift. It's interesting that you said 40. I mean, for anyone who knows my history, I came out in my late 30s. So there's a shift. Hello, long hair, lived a completely different life than I do now. So there's a shift more than I think pretzels to nutraceuticals. But and it's okay. Like it's okay to change. It's okay at your 40s to be like, hey, this doesn't work for me anymore. If that's work or, whatever it is, it not only is it okay, but you're going to probably thrive because you're going to be in integrity with what aligns with you. And I love that you said that. I love that at some point the pretzels didn't work for you anymore. And in my practice, people come in, hey, why don't you do this? Or why don't you do that? And it's not that it's necessarily a bad thing, but I try to choose products or choose procedures that are in line with what would I do to my body or somebody that I love. Not everything is bottom line driven. And you have to be able to stand behind your product, right?
Yes.
So at least for some of us, for some, God bless them, they're not, but and so there's a risk in that. There's a risk in that. You took a risk. It flopped. You took a risk. You're like, I need integrity. But then you pivoted to something else with integrity. And there's always a risk in doing something that maybe is not popular, but that has integrity. So kudos to you on that. So now tell us specifically like what you do. Like if I came to sign up to your method, what is it? First of all, how do we sign up and what is it that you do?
Yeah, absolutely. So I serve two different audiences. One is really that high performing, high achiever female that is an entrepreneur that is looking to grow her business in a way that works with her soul, that does feel aligned, that isn't something that she feels she has to subscribe to something that feels outdated to her or just doesn't make sense to her or her personality. So I tend to work with a lot of creatives and a lot of healers because of that. So they tend to be change agents and a little bit of a rebel and a little bit introverted, generally speaking. Like I feel like those qualities seem to come up time and time again. So for her, we really go deep looking at any kind of limiting beliefs that are holding her back because there's so many fears under there. There's so many deep-rooted issues that come down to worthiness when it comes to really going under the surface of why are you overscheduling? Why are you stressed out when there's a little white space in your Google Cal and you feel you've got to like, program it in like you're a robot. So what is it that allows you to be on all hours of the day? And every time there's an alert or a beep or a buzzer, you feel compelled or anxious to return that email, even if it's 11 p.m. on a Sunday. So all the different things that, again, we may have thought like, well, this is just what we need to do to move ahead. We get to unpack and deconstruct and then reconstruct the business in a way that feels good. So often profits go up. I mean, stress goes down because it's like, oh my gosh. And there's so much personal freedom that comes about and transformation in a way because we bring ourselves with us wherever we go. So if we're making transformations in the business world, then we are seeing those same kind of differences in our personal life, in our relationships, when we understand our emotional intelligence, for example. Our communications don't just improve with our team, with our clients. All of a sudden they're improving with our partners, they're improving with our kids, they're improving with anybody that we interact with, from the garage door repairman to the mailman,
Yes.
So it's a really cool process. Like everything that I look at through a holistic lens, looking at all those components. How do we come to the table wholeheartedly? So we do create that positive ripple effect as a leader.
It's so hard for people, especially for women, to understand that you cannot pour from an empty cup.
I know.
Right? Because you just have this like archetype of like the superwoman who just does it all. And you really can't do it all. And so a lot of, I get this asked this question a lot also. I have children, I'm married, I have business, I have employees that I take care of. And then how do you do it all? I don't.
Yeah.
I don't do it all. In fact, when I'm doing one thing, I'm probably not doing the other. And it's a conversation also of self-forgiveness. So if I'm at work, I am not at a play or watching my child play the trumpet. My wife had to do that. So
Yeah.
she keeps making fun of me for that. She says I owe her because he wasn't a good trumpet player. But I was here, so I couldn't be there. And if I was there doing something for the school, then I might be missing a deadline at work. And that is okay. And that is okay. And it's not possible to do it all. And if you think someone's doing it all, there's a filter on social media that makes them, it's just not real. It's not happening. And
Absolutely.
and that it's okay. Like that is life. Life is not doing it all. And for those of you who have children, when they watch you juggle through these things, they're learning so much. It's not just about sitting in the audience. That's not the only impact you make. I know because my children are grown up now and they're like post-college and they're like, Mom, watching you navigate this and that. What they're picking up just watching you prioritizing and shifting is priceless. So just know
it is. There is so much modeling and whether it's conscious or unconscious, like anybody in our sphere, kids or otherwise, they're picking up even on the nuances, like even on, our actions and our things that are unspoken. And I feel like the powerhouse comes in the boundary setting, like the respect comes in there. Yes. I just think again, like that leadership of like really showing that self-care isn't selfish. And that Absolutely. You are so much better at everything you do in life when, like you said, you have a full cup.
Absolutely. And moms, just know this, if you're super anxious because you haven't worked this out and you didn't go to Kc's method yet, your kids are picking up that anxiety too and learning that. Yeah. And sometimes we have to motivate the moms to do the work for their kids. Like sometimes I'll be like, listen, if we don't fix your health, where are you going to be for your kids or your grandkids? And the same thing, it sounds like for what you're doing. Like if we don't get your anxiety down where you're not answering every ding, your kids are going to learn this behavior too. So eventually they start to look at themselves, but sometimes bringing it in the door is about, what do you want your children to see?
Absolutely. And I feel like we're saying like we have like parallel worlds because the aspect of like, say, for example, social media as a boundary setting. And this is something that we're influenced. And then we also influence our kids, those in our household and whatnot. And the average stat right now is 147 minutes per person per day for social media use, which is incredibly insane. Staggering. And so when you think about it, if like mom always has her phone, mom has the phone at the table. So we're not focused on eating. It's just this trickle down effect then, right? So it's just like, we're not present with one another. We're losing our interpersonal skills and relationship building and effective communication because we're in this texting world, in this fast-paced world, and everything is screen time. So what is our digestion like? I was saying to you,
oh my God, yeah.
Your podcast and I was just like, I loved it because everything is interconnected, just like human beings are interconnected to everything else in this species. Every action, every thought, like every deed is interconnected. It's ultimately going to affect our health inside and come out.
100%. It's all connected, which is why it's like a part of what we talk about. And I'm going to ask you a question, and it may be off topic. It's not like we talked about this before. So if you don't want to address it, that's fine. Where does faith play a role in this? Because I feel like that's like a central part, and not a particular religion, just faith.
Yeah, such a central
what that feels like for you.
It's everything. It's really, such a big part of my deep why. It's why I was motivated to have the power of perseverance for 32 years, fall down, get up, fall down, get up. And it's really, to me, I'm very motivated by helping others self-actualize. And then for my personal true passion is God realization. And so dovetailing in with that is meditation, which is a daily non-negotiable for me. And I've been meditating every day since 1990. I don't know who I would be without it. I'd be afraid to know, to be
Amazing.
honest with you. So that's such a huge part of it. And I think that the qualities that you get from that kind of daily practice is just deeper intuition and like a perspective that doesn't really come, very easily from other things, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I feel that, and faith. And again, I'm not talking about any type of religion, and God can mean whatever it means to you. And sometimes, for some people say the word universe, but a faith that there is just this something greater than you. And if you trust it, it will lead you is so calming. It took me a long time to come to that understanding that if you just trust it, it actually just takes your stress away.
And we need it now more than ever. I just feel like post-pandemic, where people are spinning out and our world is changing at such a rapid pace, this thing that is really inside of you. Like, I truly believe that the whole of the macrocosm is in our microcosm. So you have 24/7 free access to it. And we're spinning out,
that.
looking outside, right, for an answer that is seated inside of our own soul.
I love that. And that's in line, kind of, we're back to like the parallel worlds, because everything in your system is actually starting in your microbiome, which is in your belly. So if you really fix this internal part physically in the microbiome, but spiritually in your faith, the whole system just improves. And we didn't plan this, guys. This is just working out as we're talking.
This is synergy in play.
Here it is.
Here it is.
Here it is. Oh my goodness. I love this. So your program, is it like monthly? Is it weekly? How does it work?
Yeah. So generally we go on a 6-month journey because we are getting into, habit change, but also mindset work. And that's where some neuro-linguistic programming comes in, where we really start to understand how our thoughts affect our feelings and emotion that really have a play on our actions, which are directly correlated to our results. So that's really why that promise of optimizing your productivity, performance, and profits holds true, because everything starts in our mind. So if we're telling ourselves that I have to lose 40 pounds before I do a Facebook Live, well, of course, when you think of that mindset cascade, you're going to feel insecure. You're going to go into imposter syndrome. And then what are the actions going to be? You're either going to have not so great of results, or you're going to have no action. And you're going to go into that paralyzed, frozen mode, which was me years ago. It took me a whole year to do a Facebook Live because I couldn't get out of my way. Every single day I had it on my to-do list. Yeah, mainly insecurity and weight. And it was like, living in that algorithm of, if this happens, then I'll do this. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And again, that repetitive boomerang, which happens to be how I act, is how can I help women increase their visibility if I'm not visible? So that boomerang came back around, kicked me in the butt. And I was like, I have to do what I say that I'm going to do and what I'm teaching other people to do. And that's what really shifted it for me. So yeah, so much to talk about. We could have a 5-hour podcast.
No. I do want to address weight a little bit though, because everyone struggles with it. I used to be obese, by the way. So it's a struggle. It's not something, and it doesn't go away. Like I still have a struggle with that. So when I talk to my patients, almost all of them come with some weight goal in mind. And I always say to them, the weight goal is yours. Mm-hmm. It's not mine. I really don't care what weight you're at. I want to fix your symptoms. I want the joint pain to go away. I want the brain fog to go away. I want your belly to feel better. And we're probably going to lose weight on the way because we're going to change your eating. But the weight loss I call it a side effect. And there's this fixation on the number. And for some people, it becomes really problematic. And I try to shift them from shifting on the number. I have like a whole software that I use for tracking symptoms. And like, let's focus on the symptoms. How's the brain fog doing? How are the headaches doing? Right? Because that's what we want. We want to feel good.
Yeah.
And then if you want to pursue that goal, we can pursue that goal, but I try to make it secondary across the board, because it's not going to where we want to go. Plus, you can hypothetically, starve yourself and have a Snickers bar once a day, lose the weight, and you're not healthy.
Yeah.
right? So where are we going with this? So there's so much of that. So if you don't mind just sharing a little bit about that struggle, because so many women struggle with this, and I just want to normalize talking about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, I mean, I, come from an Italian family where like, like many people and really ethnicity doesn't have a lot, a huge part to do with it, but so many emotions are tied into food,
Yes.
celebrating and connection and, um, and,
Culture.
and it's culture and it's love and it's sharing and receiving and all the things. And so it took me a while. It was so much easier when I had my business partner because we did all
Mm.
those businesses together and we were this dynamic duo. We had so much synergy. It was like, 1 + 1 = 10. And so I could be that introverted person. And she was the front face, the honey sweetie, like handshakes and hug kind of front woman. And I could go in the back and kind of still stay protected and safe, and I had kind of an identity wobble when we sold that company and I was a solopreneur really kind of for the first time after 10 businesses with her. And that's really where then that visibility issue came up and that insecurity of like, oh, it's just me, myself, and I don't have anywhere to hide. And I think that, even fast forward now, I mean, 11 years later, I can't sit here and say I have it mastered because I don't. Like it is absolutely something that still holds me back. It's something that I continue to work on every single day. And it's funny because, like our vibe attracts our tribe. And so one of my clients is actually a psychotherapist and she specializes in emotional eating. So for the last 2 years, I've been supporting her, creating her signature program, doing all the marketing, creating all the slide decks, putting all this content together. And it's like, I'm getting healed like in this process of helping her. And it's just, when you talk about the universe has your back, right? It's like, it couldn't have been architected in a better way. It's just like, she's getting exactly what she needs in winning. I'm also benefiting in a tremendous way in winning. And so those kind of things and serendipities just happen time and time again. So there's so many layers to it. And I think that to your point of women feeling like they're super women and that they need to handle it all, they need to juggle it all. And when you really look at the root of perfectionism, most of the time we're not getting our emotional needs met. Like there is this real kernel of I'm not worthy. And there's so much soup of emotional neglect, whether it was conscious or unconscious from our childhood, that peppers our experience and who we are right now. I think it's really deep work, really transformational work. And I'm still on the journey of peeling it back. And, to get super vulnerable, I feel like for so many years, I've spent a ton of time in personal development, really looking at positive psychology and how do I flip things around and how do I make things have like a rainbow glow to it. And it's really just been more in kind of this past year or recent times where it's like, oh my God, like there's so much power in the shadow work and not just glossing over it and being like, I'm fine. Everything's fine. Who needs what? How can I help? Like, and it's again, like just as much as burnout took unthreading, just as much as not subscribing anymore to an outdated paradigm that feels gross. This is an unlearning, unthreading, unlayering process. And it takes time.
It is so funny that you just said I'm fine, because I do a presentation and one of the things I say, like, oh, so you're on these meds, or so you can't walk up the stairs, and you're just saying I'm fine. No, everything is fine. Like it's really it's really what I say. And then I say it is not fine. It's not fine. And I'm hoping that the listeners understand that you said you're still struggling with it. We're all still struggling with it. Whoever you're looking at and you're thinking they have it figured out, they're struggling with it, whatever it is.
I'm shocked because literally, like, I just followed you back on Instagram and I see like your super amazing athletic shot. So for you to say you struggled with it and still struggle blows my mind.
Yeah, I still struggle with it. And one of the first things I do with my clients is I show them a before picture of myself 20 years ago, because I think it's very different to get advice from someone who struggled with it and still struggle with it. Like my relationship with food is something I work on daily, and it's not something that just it didn't, some people, God bless them, they're born with a healthy relationship with food. So I still struggle with it. And so what does mastering mean? Like when you say master it, does mastering mean never thinking about it again? Well, then I haven't mastered it because I still battle it. Right. And so, um, it's really important and I love that you are vulnerable. This is the reason why I share that my before picture. It's also the reason why I share that I came out at a late age, because if you're not going to show people, hey, this is my underbelly, this is what I deal with, how are they going to show you theirs? Right.
Yeah.
So you have to lead with vulnerability I think if you're going to be effective. So everything you said and the fact that you shared that is like, it's so powerful. And I think anyone who's listening is going to want to work with you because you're real. Like who's not struggling?
Yeah.
So I just want to say that we're all there.
Yeah. I love that you pointed out or picked up on the word mastery. And I just want to think about that like live and just like unpack it with you, because I do feel that is a little bit of that laced masculine terminology of like, like we're going to get it. And it really also brings in that perfectionism again. And there's this, it's a way to idealize our goals. And then it's almost like you're never really there. Like you're continuing to move the bar. And in that, it promotes not having any self-satisfaction at all, and no wins and no celebrations. And that's something that, funny enough, like my clients are powerhouses. You give them a to-do list and they will go through it like nobody's business. You tell them to take a little inner child time and they're like, huh? Or you provide a visualization or a meditation. They're like, I don't know if I have time for that 9 minutes. I'm not sure. You know what I mean? So it's really interesting. Or some of the hardest questions is like, how are you winning this week? And it's just like, because they're thinking of the strategy and they want to go through the to-do list. And I see you laughing because it's like, you can relate to it.
I'm laughing because I'm guilty of the same thing. I have a mental health coach and she's like, can you do this? I'm like, I don't have time for that. She's like, what do you mean you don't have time for a 7-minute hypnosis? I'm like, I don't have 7 minutes for you. So
you get it.
But I'll come up an hour to figure out a social media strategy. Right. It's so true. In fact, what I started implementing in my practice, in my office, is at the end of every day, we celebrate wins. And sometimes the win is I found a parking spot. Like it doesn't have to be glorious.
I love it.
Sometimes my staff's like, my win is that I made myself lunch today. And sometimes I say I still ordered lunch because I saw it was good, but at least I made lunch. It doesn't have to be amazing, but we take that moment now precisely because I realized I kept moving the goal. Oh, we got this thing. Let's keep going. And you're right. That is a masculine energy, but I have to say it's very much a woman's problem to not
absolutely. And I'm not really
not say great job self.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I'm not like, bashing a sex, because we all have feminine and masculine energies inside of us. So it really has nothing to do with gender. They're just, I should come up with a better word for that. It's just the differences when you look at yin and yang, when you look at black and white, like it's just opposing energies. So I should really be talking about it more in a polarity sense than a gender sense.
No, but I know what you mean. And I think the audience knows that you don't mean in any other way than what we all have come to kind of generalize.
It's funny though, because like I was on a mastermind the other day and one of the members called me out because I said ladies. Now it was a full group of women in the call. And she said, Kc, you're doing something that's bugging me. And every time you say ladies, it's triggering me because I think of ladies as being prim and proper, and we are wild women. And I was like, okay, well, thank you. And I will take that on board. But it's like, after I said to my best friend, what do I call him? Like, what do I call him? That's not offensive. If you say, hey guys, that might be that's offensive too. Because guys, like.
That's true. So my practice is LGBTQ friendly, and we really strive to create an inclusive practice. But in that we stumble, and we're going to, because we don't know what words are triggering and what people are carrying. So when I come into a room, especially with someone who is maybe transgender or is requesting different pronouns, different names, the first thing I say is, I just want to let you know my heart's in the right place. I'm going to mess up. Just let me know. And so your response was accurate. How would you know that ladies is triggering? So I said, thanks. I won't do it again.
Take it on board.
And
Yeah.
hopefully the other person is gracious enough to understand that. How are we to know? And, if it was a second or third offense, it's a different story. But I think it's just in the spirit of love and trying. That's all we could do.
Yes.
So,
Yes. I like how you framed that.
yeah, thanks. So, oh my God, Kc, I could really talk to you for hours.
You too.
For the sake of our listeners, I'm going to bring this to a close, but please tell everyone how they can reach you because you're just phenomenal.
Well, thank you. I would say since they're already listening and they enjoy podcasts, they can head over to Women Developing Brilliance, the Spirit of Business. You can find that wherever you listen to podcasts. And then also I have a free 3-part video series called Know Thyself and Lead. And that kind of goes through some of the things like whether you're in business or not, it will really help you clarify and kind of get to see your purpose and your passion and how those come together and how you can serve the world, even if it's like in your own little cosmos. So they can get that at kcrossi.com/lead.
I love that. And of course, we're going to put it all over our social media and link it everywhere.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for your time. It's been a pleasure and an honor to speak with you twice.
Yeah, it's been such a joy. Thank you so much, Dr. E. I've really enjoyed it.
My pleasure.